All right, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel Dykhuis. So by day, I am a labor and delivery nurse, and in my free time, I read books. And I've always been a reader, and I just love doing it, and people always ask me for recommendations. So I think probably almost a year ago, I started a YouTube channel, and now I'm going to review my August books that I read. So in August, I read 17 books. And that's a mix of audio and physical books. And I feel like I started this the month off reading a ton, and the last couple weeks was really hard. I think I worked a bunch of extra shifts, and then I don't know, just fizzled out. I think maybe there was just less pool time. So I am gonna actually do these. I normally do them in the order that I read them. So today I'm actually gonna do them in rank order. So I'm going to start with my lowest. So my lowest rating was 3. So when I rate a book a 3, it's I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I'm not going to rave about it to other people. And then a 4 is I liked it. I'm not going to tell people that it's my favorite book. Maybe it had some issues or some things I didn't like about it. And then 5 is perfect score. I love this. And even if there's a couple things that I don't like, a lot of times if I read a book in one sitting, I'll just give it 5 stars, because if you keep my attention for that long, then I feel like you did something really well. All right, so my 3-star books are Family of Liars. So this is a library book that I picked up. This is the prequel to We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. It's a YA, kind of kind of not really thriller. It's a slow thriller. I loved We Were Liars because it had a big twist at the end that you had no idea what was going on. And Family of Liars just didn't really hit the same. So I actually listened to the audiobook, even though I had the physical copy, just because I was reading so many different books at the time. And the audiobook was good. I don't feel like this story was memorable. So, yeah, gave this one 3 stars. But if you read We Were Liars, it's a prequel. So it's about the parents of the kids in We Were Liars. And then I read The Mistake by Elle Kennedy. So this is a romance, a little bit racy. I read another book by her this month as well, so I'm kind of working my way through this series. It's the Off-Campus series. So it's these hockey players falling in love, and I liked this book. I gave it 3 stars because my least favorite trope is misunderstanding tropes. When we could avoid all this drama if we just communicated. So even though I know that actually happens in real life, it's just annoying to be the reader and be none of this drama needed to happen. So I gave it a 3. Again, it was a good book. It's got some nice racy scenes in it. Just not my favorite out of the 2 that I've read in this series. And then for 4 stars, I don't really know how to rate graphic novels. So Heartstopper Volume 3 and 4. This continues the love story between Charlie and Nick. This is a Netflix series, so I was trying to read the volumes before I watched the Netflix series. I don't know that I will continue reading them. They're cute, but I don't know. Maybe graphic novels aren't my thing. There is nothing wrong with these books. They just aren't, I don't feel like I'm oh, you need to read this. Yeah, so those continue. I will probably watch the Netflix series. So I thought that it was just 4 volumes, and so I was oh, I'll just finish off 4, and now there's a volume 5. So I'm probably not going to keep reading. I think there's other graphic novels out there that I will love. I don't know if it's just the format, because I like the format. You sit down, can read it in one sitting, and they're illustrated books for adults. And then the next, so even though these are 4 stars, I'm going in order of what I like. So I liked more than Heartstopper, The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. So this is the story of 4 girls, and 3 of them go missing at camp. And the last girl is living with this trauma of these girls going missing. And she keeps talking about how she had a part of their disappearance, but you don't know what it is. So then 15 years later, the camp reopens and more girls go missing. So it's kind of the mystery of that. This is not my favorite Riley Sager book. Like Lock Every Door and is it Home Sweet Home? Like those are better, but I did like it. I mean, I love a good thriller. It took a little bit to get into it, but the twist at the end I did not see coming, so that's always a win for a thriller. So yeah, The Last Time I Lied. And then I read an audiobook, Gallant by V.E. Schwab. So this is like a gothic story. V.E. Schwab, I like how she writes fantasy, but they're like dark. Like there's just kind of like more like ominous tones. I feel like these would be really good for fall. But this is an audiobook that finally became available. This is one of her newer ones. So this girl who has thought that she's been an orphan her whole life gets a letter from her uncle that says like, hey, come home. We want you here. And then when she gets there, there's like all this mystery. There's like a second, like one of the houses is the regular Gallant and one is like Gallant where like death is reigning. So trying to like navigate that. So she's got some weird power. I don't know how to describe this. So I liked this book. It felt like there was more to it. Like they kind of left it like very wide open. Like there was maybe going to be another one. So yeah, I enjoyed it, but it's kind of a weird one. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to everyone. The next one that I read was the second book in the Summer I Turned Pretty series. So this is by Jenny Han. She also wrote To All the Boys I Loved Before in that series. These are like read in one sitting. They're so easy to read. I gave 5 stars to the first one. Loved it so much. Love the Amazon Prime show. They're slightly different, this TV series and the book series, but I feel like they're different in like good ways, like just different interpretations. So this book I gave 4 stars to. It just wasn't like the storyline wasn't as enjoyable, and I feel like that's kind of like a middle book. So I wasn't really expecting it to be 5 stars, but it was good. I read it in like one sitting, and it just continues the story of Billy and the Fisher Boys. And yeah, so that's another one. I don't love girls who like are interested in brothers. Like that trope is weird to me. Like as somebody who has multiple sisters, like I cannot imagine having somebody date 2 sisters. Like that just seems like a no. Like don't do that. But this is a really, really good series. Good summer series. It makes you just really nostalgic for summer. And then I read Counterfeit, which is a new book. This is an audiobook. So this is a very fun premise. I gave it 4 stars because of like the premise and kind of the points of view, like very unreliable narrator. And you don't realize that it's super unreliable until partway through. So it starts with her being interrogated by the cops as she's part of this counterfeit ring of like designer handbags. So you kind of get into like how she gets into it, like circumstances that lead her into it. She has this roommate in college that got her involved with it. And then the roommate in college comes in and like has a different perspective. So it was very entertaining. I didn't necessarily love the character. Like I feel like this is something that's fun to read, but like it's hard to relate to the characters because this is something I would never get involved with. Like Get Rich Quick it's just not me. But very entertaining. And then I read All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. This was recommended by some booktubers that I watch. I think it was Allison Pages that recommended this. I did enjoy it. I don't love like trauma and hardness in books. Like a lot of times I read for an escape. But this was a really good story of, I think it was Salah Humid and Noor are these 2 Pakistani Americans that face Islamophobia alcoholism in their families, abuse, poverty, parent death. So there's just a lot of trauma in these pages, and it's kind of like their relationship throughout. And yeah, it was good. So I gave this one 4 stars, and I maybe would have given it more stars. It just took a little bit to get into, and then, like, again, I don't always love all the trauma. I wish people didn't have to face all that. And then I read After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I'm working my way through all of her books because she's written some of my favorites. So, like The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six. So I just feel like I'm going to love everything that she writes. So After I Do is the story of Lauren and Ryan. And they've been married, I think, for 10 years. And they just decide to, like, take a break and take a year away from each other and live their lives and see, like, if they love each other. So it was just a really, like, cool perspective to see a love story from, like, a married couple trying to come back to each other. Because I feel like most love stories are, like, kind of the lead up, and then you get married and you just kind of assume everything's going to be perfect. And so I just feel like this addressed a lot of relationships. So sibling relationships, parent, grandparent, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend. So yeah, I liked it a lot. Give that 4 stars. And then I listened to one that has been on everybody's list, I feel like. So Finley Donovan is Killing It by Elle Casimano. So Finley Donovan is a struggling writer. She's a mom. Her kids are, like, in that, like, awful stage. Her ex-husband is a true asshole. So he's threatening to take the kids from her, but also, like, not helping her. He doesn't think she's a good writer. So she's meeting with her agent to talk about books. She writes murder mysteries. So she's talking about how she's going to, like, off someone, and somebody overhears and tries to pay her to kill their husband. Chaos ensues, shenanigans. It's very entertaining because she's just, like, a bumbling idiot, really, when it comes to her life. Like, she makes everything so much harder. And of course, she, like, accidentally murders the guy. And, like, there's just so many, like, it's just comical. It's one of those, like, I didn't give it 5 stars because it's like, this is not believable, but it's very entertaining. She's a ridiculous character. And I will probably listen to the sequel. It was a great audiobook too. So yeah, Finley Donovan is killing it. And then I listened to The Troubled Girls of Dragomir Academy. So this is a middle grade. It's by Anne Ursu. So the main character has a brother who's getting tested to be a sorcerer. The sorcerers keep, what is it called? This, like, purple stuff away. So there are some witches that cast this spell, and it's like the waste or something. So it's like this purple stuff that, like, kills everything in its path. So the sorcerers are the ones that keep it away from people. And so her brother's getting tested to see if he's a sorcerer. She just always, her family is very disappointed in her. They don't believe in her. So their crazy goat, like, interrupts. And so she gets sent to Dragomir Academy, which is a place for troubled girls. So there's lots of other girls there that have all, like, caused trouble in their families. Basically just, like, trying to be humans and live lives. So she has a neighbor that was, like, really nice to her, and that was, like, teaching her weaving. And with weaving, she was teaching her some, like, history that is not based on the men in society. So this was a very entertaining middle grade. Loved it. I hope there's more, because it kind of leaves it open, like, there could be more in the series. Just a really fun commentary on how girls can contribute so much to society, but if boys and men don't let them in, then they're just kind of, like, squandering this help that they could have. So yeah, The Troubled Girls of Dragomir Academy. Gave that one 4 stars. I think I gave it 4 instead of 5 just because it felt like there was finally some information and conclusion, and then it was done. So if it was the beginning of a series, I think it would get higher rated. Then I finished what is this one called? A Darker Shade of Magic trilogy. So this is A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. So again, just kind of like darker fantasy. So there are 4 Londons: Black London, White London, Grey London, Red London. So our main characters live in Red London. The Antari have magical powers and can go between. And so Kel is the main character, and as he hopped around, he met a girl that he has romance with in another London. So the first and second book, the first book is kind of character, world building, so I didn't love it as much. The second has a magical contest. Loved it, gave it 5 stars. It was so fast moving. This book, I feel like it didn't get 5 stars just because it was pretty lengthy. There was so much to this one book. But I did love it. I love the conclusion. It was really great to see how these books were building, and then what the characters came together to do. So there's lots of good magic, lots of romance. Yeah, I would recommend The Darker Shade of Magic if you like kind of a darker fantasy, lots of murder and darkness. Then I read Allie Hazelwood's new book, Love on the Brain. So I own it. I went to Barnes & Noble and picked it up. It must have been the day it came out. But I already have it loaned out to someone else. So Love on the Brain is a story of B. She is a neuroscientist, I believe. Yeah, she does something with neuroscience, and she's recruited to join. So she works for the National Institute of Health, and National Institute of Health and NASA are doing a project together. So she's recruited to be the head of the NIH portion of the project. And so she agrees, and she's really excited and moves to Texas, where NASA is. And then there's all sorts of blacks in the way. The lead of NASA is actually her nemesis from school, and she's she almost didn't take the job because she knew he was going to be in it and that he hated her. So her dislike of him is response to his hate of her all throughout college. Well, turns out he didn't hate her. He's in love with her, which, sorry, that's not really a spoiler. That's you kind of see both of their points of view, and he's been in love with her the whole time. So, shenanigans, a mystery, spicy, romance, and science. It was really fun. I would still say The Love Hypothesis, I gave 5 stars. This one was a little bit more far-fetched just because, again, I don't like the miscommunication trope, and there was just so much in here where they could have gotten together so much earlier. So yeah, Love on the Brain. I would highly recommend this one. So this was the top of my 4 stars. So it's 4.5, 4.75, just not quite 5 stars. And then in the 5 stars is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. So this was not at all what I expected. So the premise was accurate, but I just feel I thought it was going to be a historical book. I thought it was just not going to be as compelling. So it is current day. This couple was together for 7 days when they were young. And then they are together again for 7 days as adults. So there's 15 years in between. So it was when they're 15 and now when they're 30. And so it goes back and forth between the days. It's written so well. The characters are the banter's great. The dialogue's great. There's some racy scenes that are also great. And it deals with a lot deeper. It deals with their trauma from being children, addiction, and kind of being the parent to your parent. And then them kind of current day and like dealing with that trauma as well. So I love this book. The only reason it's not like a favorite is because the epilogue just dragged on forever. Like, to me, an epilogue is like a couple pages, like you just kind of wrap it up. The epilogue was so long, like so long. And I felt like the rest of the book was amazing and it just kind of dragged. So, sorry, just tighten up the epilogue and it would be a favorite. Then I read the Mindfuck series. So this is 5 books in one. So it seems like a huge book, but this was like a self-published book by S.T. Abbey. And so the chapters are short. The books are actually not that long, so it moves really quickly. I read this in just a few days. Was so entertaining. So the main character is something awful happened to her when she was a teenager. And now she's performing revenge murders with her friend, which is well written, loved. Like they write the murders so well. They write like the flashbacks are great. You get more and more of the story. Definitely not something that you like. Definitely read the trigger warnings before you would read this, because it deals with some heavy stuff. Well, the main character, who is a serial killer, falls in love with an FBI agent, and so he's like actively pursuing her while she's murdering people. Very entertaining. Loved it so much. So 5 stars. Loved it. You can borrow my copy if you want. And then my favorite book this month was The Deal by Elle Kennedy. So this is the other off-campus book that I read. This was the first in the series. I loved this. I read it in one sitting, like did not get out of my bed because it was so good. I loved the characters. I loved the banter. I loved the storyline. It was so fast moving. Yeah. Some good racy scenes, but there was also like so much more to it than the racy. Like, you can write a smutty book, but if there's not like a good story, it's just kind of annoying. But I love this one. So this was my favorite book of the month. And those are my 17 books that I read. I have a ridiculously long TBR for September. But I've already read 5 books. I think I was just trying to like get the summary books read. And then I'm going to kind of switch over into like, I've got a lot of historical fiction that I selected. I have some book club books to read. And I did like my random number generator as well, just to like get some. And then the Last of the Inheritance Games books came out. So I'm currently reading that. And yeah, and then in October, I'll probably switch over to more like thriller, spooky. So I'm excited. I love fall. It's Labor Day today, so I was really hoping to like sit by the pool and, you know, just get the like last summer things in. I just took down all my summer decorations. But it's cold outside. So I feel like it's switching those fall vibes over. And then it sounds like next week is going to be super warm. So yay. Love Michigan weather. Just never know what you're going to get. Anyway, I will see you soon. I think I'm going to do a book haul because I've gotten lots and lots of books over the last few months that I haven't like done a book haul. So that will be my next video, and then I'll see you again for September. Bye! Thanks for watching!